Perfect, perfect.
Ready?
One of the things that we have heard from our community members about Web3 jobs is that the remote the remote offering of Web3 jobs is one of the most attractive things that they find. And this is something that I would like to understand from Zana and Dominic. Dominic, maybe you can touch upon the technical roles that you handle. What feedback do you get from the candidates about the remote part, and what kind of companies generally hire generally hire for remote
Yes.
candidates in Web3? Over to you.
Thanks for Dang. Well, the first thing I'd say is we're actually going through a very significant shift in this regard. So maybe that view is a little bit outdated. Right now, what we're seeing is the more serious companies and projects establishing regional offices and hubs and expecting the talent to really spend uh, much more time than during COVID pandemic. That's for sure. Hybrid is very popular now, and if you're a certain level of the organization, they expect you to be there full time. So that view is definitely changing, but some functions are easier to be remote. Engineers tend to have a more easier time getting a remote job than non-engineers, anyone doing commercial marketing, sales, and executive management. Um, yeah, I'd say we're definitely seeing a shift in that regard.
Zana, what do you think?
From yeah, from my side, I would say we see a good mix. So we have a lot of requests from founders, let's say for sales, marketing roles. Mostly it's all remote. If you talk about developers, also remote. If we talk about leadership roles, in most of cases, they need someone, let's say, in Dubai, Singapore. It can be 50-50, like Dominic mentioned. But still, I feel after COVID, people, they don't like to go to offices, even founders. Founders like to spend some time, in some remote locations. They keep traveling, but leadership roles, they always need in offices.
Hmm. Is it right to say that there are a particular set of roles that are preferred to be remote, and there are particular set of roles that employers, that companies prefer the candidates to not be remote? Dominic, what do you think?
Uh, the way think about it is what is the purpose of being in the office and what is the purpose of being outside? And a big one, like Jana mentioned about the leadership, well, the question is why would they be traveling and out there? And I think the answer relates a lot to they are fundraising, they are speaking to customers, speaking to partners, they're at conferences, they're raising awareness, they're doing the brand building. Even CTOs now are expected to go on stage and to talk about the project and to be an evangelist. So that's a big, and they're networking with each other. Um, in this space, in any high-powered, high-performance industry, you need to know the right people, and that's why the executives are out there. And then all the, let's say, the rowers of the boat, the rest of the team is either at home at the base or working from home. So that's the way I see it.
Hmm. Thank you very much, Dominic. Zana, what are your views?
Yeah, in most of cases, CO, CBDO, they always want someone who can be in the office, or at least someone who can spend like 50-50 time in the office slash remote work.
Mm. And particularly the job board that we run, we have seen developers. And since there are a lot of regions in the world where we have a lot of developers, there are regions in the world where we have, less developers. So it makes more sense for companies to have developers on remote basis. This is what we have observed. It may or may not be correct as per the regions and companies that we look upon. But overall, Dominic, one or two lines from you about the type of roles that are most probable to find to be remote.
Yeah, I still wouldn't split it too much according to the role. It comes down to trust. I also, am head of talent for an AI company, and those that we trust, we say, okay, go and you can be more flexible and travel and be remote. If you're new to the company, we have something to prove. Okay, we have a bit of a different expectation, and a lot of companies take this approach. But if I was to draw a line, I would um, I would say, like Zhanna mentioned, it's kind of 50-50 across all functions. But then the seniority, I see more of a difference in the seniority. The less senior you are, potentially the more time you'll spend in the office, because you're doing more of the grunt work and you have a lot more face time with the team members.
And Zana, uh,
So as a recruitment agency, I always suggest clients to cut cost. Let's say if they have option to hire remote, I always tell that you can have more money, to survive good market, bad market. Even if they want to have some BD guy, let's say in Dubai, same story. I suggest hire someone from Europe or let's say India or the US, and sometimes they can travel. It will be more cost effective.
hmm. So, so what I understand is that it is based on the hierarchy, on the leader, on the hierarchy, yes, and it is dependent on the culture that the company has. So it is a mixed, it is a mixed bag of remote and non-remote roles that we have in Web3. Okay, that was good. But when we talk about remote roles, there is always an arbitrage that we talk about in terms of salaries. So average salary for an American might be, 10 times more than the average salary for let us say a Nigerian or
Mm-hmm.
Indian,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be an attractive thing for people in the developing countries. But quickly want to hear your opinion about the salaries part in Web3, which we generally hear is larger, is higher than other comparable industries. Dominic, what are your views?
Oh, what a controversial topic. People assume that Web3 in general pays higher. I find it debatable overall, but if we talk about this topic, about geography. So on the one hand, I often say to people telling me, look, it doesn't matter where I live. If I'm a junior, I should be paid junior. If I'm mid-level, mid-level. If I should be paid on my merit. On the other hand, people saying, well, I live in New York, I live in Zurich, I live in Dubai, so you should be paying me higher. So, which one is it? People can't have both. Either it matters where you live, or it doesn't matter where you live. This is constant debate going on. Putting my in-house role and my head of talent role on, we do need to save costs. We do need to rationalize it with people and discuss what is important to you, because it's not a salary isn't the only thing that's important to people. It can be flexibility and working partly from your couch and partly at your desk at home, or it can be other factors that are important. But in terms of geography, there's for sure an arbitrage for a lot of people in the developing world. Um, Definitely, like it's without a question. But then I would say that is in general with technology. I don't see too much of a difference between tech, global tech in general, versus Web3 and blockchain. It's just that we are a subset of technology. So if you're a specialist in our space, you will by definition earn more wherever you live.
True, that makes sense. That makes sense. Jana, what's your views based on your experience?
So I'm into blockchain recruitment for the last 5 years, and I will give you some examples about shift that I saw during those 5 years. Let's say if you talk about India or, for example, Ukraine, what I saw that sometime clients they were saying let's pay less to those people, let's say from other countries, if they were hiring someone from Dubai or New York. But now, because blockchain is becoming so global and almost everyone is working remotely, even those people, let's say in India, Ukraine, Poland, they are asking same salaries like people who are working in New York, in Dubai, and it's almost same numbers. uh, sometime if client needs some cheaper resources, let's say community managers, they can hire someone from Nigeria or someone from Indonesia. Usually those folks, they still much cheaper compared, let's say, to Europe or to India. But now I feel like 2, 3 years and we will have similar numbers across main blockchain hubs and countries like Europe, India, China, etc.
Mhm. And maybe we can also talk about two other things additional. One is expectations, sorry, perceptions, that the perceptions haven't caught up yet. That the talent in developing countries or less known countries or less expensive countries have caught up with an American or European or Australian or Canadian. That perception hasn't caught up. I think Zhanna would agree, being an agency working with lots of clients. So that's that we could probably add that into it. Um, yeah, and then there was a second thing I wanted to say, but it skipped my mind.
I would like to add it's also about personal brand. If the guy knows how to sell himself on LinkedIn, Twitter, have good followers, maybe running some podcast, even if he's from Nigeria, he will be able to have good salary.
That's a very good point, actually. And I've seen a lot of Twitter posts where people say that, in Web3, people don't care about your degrees, your certificates. And let's talk about that. If, let us say, we consider a person who wants to get into Web3, is new in the career, uh, is a beginner in the hierarchy of career, and they want to enter Web3. So, what are your suggestions on how people can get into Web3? Dominic.
Yeah, this is one of those spaces where you need to be in it to win it, and you need to do as much as you possibly can to build your brand and awareness and involvement and tell the world about it. Um, but it is very difficult right now. There is, I would say, an overall glut of talent. So you're competing against people who have been in the space for a while and have the skills and the knowledge, and so that's the first challenge. But you can, and not to aim unreasonably high, not to go apply for the Ethereum Foundation straight away, um, and to be reasonable about where you can enter into the space. I don't think education is a big deal. Um, to be very honest, I know that uh, the top VC-backed companies, they do care a lot. Actually, they want a lot of people with Ivy League education. I see it recently a lot, that they specifically will reject candidates that don't have that background. But for anyone that's not, for any companies that are not backed by your Panteras and so forth, they usually don't care and about your education, and also the attitude of the founder. The founders can differ, but usually the founders themselves didn't go to Ivy League, or they dropped out, and they're kind of very proud about that. So in terms of education, it doesn't really matter across the board, only in some areas. And if you want to get into the space, you just need to show the world as much as possible that you're involved and interested.
And how do you suggest people can show?
Well, Jean is very good at this one.
So I want to touch this point first about education. Yes, sometimes clients they can say, "Oh, I need guy from tier one university or IIT, MIT, whatever," and I always tell them, "Please be open-minded because sometimes you will need to overpay just for this education, and it doesn't make much sense if are you looking to work in this space for a very long time or you want just to burn your cash." That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yes, as Dominic mentioned, it's a lot of competition. People, even with experience, they struggle to find jobs. Sometimes it can be 3, 6 months, even 1 year, like very brilliant guys. So job boards are not working. What is working is if you know how to build long-term relationships with recruiters, with agencies. So once you are looking for a job, you always have some backup plan, and you always can do this through connections. Let's say you can text even hiring managers. Let's say if the guy is working as a team leader, You can tell, oh, I like the job you're doing in this space, would like to stay in touch. Or I just grateful for the stuff that you are doing, happy to be in touch. Then next time if he will have job, you always can text him or you can ask for advice. Then build your personal brand. Again, LinkedIn must have. Twitter, if you know how to um, play with Twitter algorithms, because it's little challenging. Maybe launch some podcast. For example, now the most trending topics, it will be stable coins, regulations, ethical Web3, maybe some burnout stuff, talk to founders about mindfulness, and maybe launch some podcast. If you're a developer, you always can contribute to open source projects. For example, it can be Ethereum, Solana, GitHub. Uh, Hackathons, the best way. I know a lot of developers, they found job through hackathons. Because even if you're looking for talent, tech talent, we go to hackathon website, we are checking their database, we are going to GitHub. If you're a developer and your GitHub so, then how you will be able to find the job? For non-tech people, it's you can join DAO. Then you can join some boot camps, for example, Alchemy or Consensus Academy.
Yeah, and it, probably just need to suck it up a little bit and reach out to a company, someone in the company, say, look, these are my three ideas for you. You know, it's free, it's value, free value. You're not going to get paid for it, but you're showing what the way you think, or
Another brilliant idea. It's mostly working for senior and leadership roles. But if you have some people from Web2 who would like to move to Web3, they always can reach out to founder and tell, hey, I am ready to be as an intern for full time, let's say for 1, 3 months. I will solve some problems. And if you like, then we can discuss package. And I know people who worked before in Polygon in leadership roles, they got this kind of job working in government and then joining Web3 project and getting C-level role in this kind of projects.
yes.
So thank you very much for sharing that. Just a last question. What kind of roles or what kind of companies within Web3, like infra company, DeFi company, gaming company, what kind of companies and what kind of roles are more prevalent these days, are more prevalent these days for a job seeker?
Do you want to start on that one, Jana?
Yes. I know that you will say mostly developers, but in our case, a lot of founders they are asking us to hire marketing. So it's always community managers, social media, then a lot of sales roles because everyone need to build sales pipeline if it's good, bad market. Then we have developers. Because I'm from Ukraine, I know European ecosystem very well and also Indian ecosystem. I spent a lot of time in India. So I guess through my personal brand, founders know my core skills and also for leadership roles. But leadership, again, everything, chief marketing officer, CBDO, CTO, executive officer. And I found founders now they are struggling like before as well, to have more time for themselves. So everyone is looking for executive assistant. Even now we are hiring for one high influential chief executive assistant, 5 executive assistants. So you can believe how busy this guy.
What about you, Dominic? What do you think?
Yes. So if we're looking at the market projects that are coming up, I can see it in terms of like what's hot and what's not. So right now, what's hot is infrastructure. I think that this will keep continuing to improve. So everything from cross-chain swaps to different sort of L2s on different L1s like Bitcoin L2s, Ethereum L2s to some extent, and various other ones. Then you've got your like generative AI platforms that are mixing, like putting generative AI and AI inferences on chain. That definitely took off towards the beginning of this year. It's now plateaued, but it's still hot. And then I've also seen some very interesting new creator economy platforms out there. Um, DeFi is 50-50. So all yield generating products is still popular, but in the retail space it's still popular, but I'm seeing a tension between retail and institutional. So that's 50-50. And what is not popular right now and struggling is gaming, NFTs, and then small little things like runes, if you remember them, and ordinals coming out of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then linking it also to the previous point, it, how to get into the space, look at hot ecosystems, and perhaps take like an ecosystem approach and say, okay, I love the Sui ecosystem, and then go because Sui is hot right now, it's doing great. So then look into those projects. Base coming out of Coinbase, really popular right now, and that's focused around like AI economy. Um, and then other things like Polkadot, I think will make a comeback. The Bitcoin ecosystem move, and then always Ethereum you can count on. So those ecosystems are hot. And if you want to take an ecosystem approach to finding a job and keep talking to those projects within the same ecosystem, and they will refer you between each other, I think that's also a really good idea.
Yeah, I will also suggest to check Electric Capital report. They are publishing this often, and there you will be able to understand how many developers are there, what ecosystem is growing, because those projects that are investing in hackathons, they will raise a lot of money, and this ecosystem will be growing. So you can see real results. Because I saw some ecosystems, they are promoting themselves so much in marketing events. But if you go to LinkedIn, GitHub, you can't see developers, and you know what will happen with them in near future.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of crypto and blockchain, from an engineering developer point of view, so Ethereum has something like 10,000 developers, whereas there's like 9.5 million Java developers. Um, so just to give you a sense of scale and and it's important to see that as well.
9.5 million jobs in Web3.
Developers.
Wow, that's a big number.
So there's 9 million in Web2 Java, and
Hmm.
then about 10,000 Ethereum
Oh,
developers.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I have a question to you also about DeFi. What I noticed before it was huge boom, but now we don't get a lot of requests from founders for
Yeah.
DeFi talent. It feels like DeFi is dying, or maybe founders they are not able to raise second round because maybe some of them they overpromise something. But I see this as a trend.
I feel it's a bit of a technology acquisition going on. The institutions could never do it themselves. They tried with IBM tried with Hyperledger and others, Cosmos to some extent, and it didn't really work. And then, but your Solanas and Ethereum's and all of those public chains have done great. And now the institutions and companies are saying, "Oh, amazing! We'll take it. We'll use it for our treasury companies, Sol strategies in Solana ecosystem, strategy in Bitcoin. They're coming up in Ethereum already. They said, thanks for the technology. We'll take that. We'll use that for our clients, and off we go. And then retail, what are they stuck with? We'll see.
Hmm. So maybe keeping track of what is going on in the market, what is getting hyped and what is getting accepted, maybe through social media, maybe through Twitter, or maybe like Zana suggested through industry reports, can be the can be the approach that people can follow to understand where the potential openings may come in the Web3 sector.
Yeah, and if you have any friends, any connections whatsoever in the space, utilize them. Ask them for help. Ask them for introductions. That's probably the best way right now, rather than job descriptions. Sorry, job boards, which are kind of unhelpful.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dominic. Thank you, Zana. Jackson.